This happened to me a few years ago, when I had my first brush of death. I had fainted in my workplace after experiencing an extremely high blood pressure. The doctor said that I was experiencing too much stress, and that could potentially lead to more complicated health risks. For my benefit, I was asked to have a vacation in order to lower my blood pressure. I decided to visit the little cottage my grandfather owned in the countryside. It was a few miles away from the forest, and it had a pretty view of the lake. I packed my bag and began my week-long recovery vacation. As soon as I arrived at the cottage, I felt a sense of calm and security. I could tell that I was in for a wonderful week. Oh boy, was I wrong. On the first night, after unpacking some of my things, I went to the kitchenette and made myself a hot cup of tea. I sat in the cottage's dining room and watched the rain fall softly when I suddenly heard something run across the room upstairs. I set my teacup down and made my way up to see what caused the sound. I looked through the 2 bedrooms and bathroom and noticed that one window had been opened. Probably the wind, I thought, as I closed the window and went back down. I walked back to the table and picked up my cup when I noticed that it was empty. Why was it empty? I looked at it and noticed there was a trail of sorts from the edge of the cup, like someone had drunk from it. I brushed it off as me mindlessly finishing my tea without realizing it. There was no one else in the cottage. Besides, I was here to enjoy myself and recuperate from an attack. I shouldn't be thinking about stuff like that. I decided to call it a night and head towards the bedroom and got into bed. No sooner had my head hit the pillow, I heard something crash in the next room. I jolted up and walked to the next room to see what it was. To my surprise, it was a wooden chair that toppled over. I walked over and set it upright, all the while wondering what might have toppled it. Again, I brushed it off, thinking that there was probably the wind that toppled it down, but the windows weren't even open. I went back to bed and pulled the quilt over my body and did my best to go to sleep. It was probably 2 or even 3 in the morning when I felt like I wasn't the only one. I woke up and turned on the light to see. So far, nothing. But it was a strange feeling I normally had when things weren't right, and I have never been wrong about my gut feeling. The next day, I was busy watering the flowers in the garden. As I was busy watering the flowers in the garden, I suddenly heard a voice call out to me. I looked over my shoulder to see who it was, but there was no one. Someone was clearly messing with me, and to be honest, it wasn't doing me any favors for my own health. I gathered some flowers and went inside when I heard the sound of pots and pans being thrown around in the kitchen. I dropped the basket of flowers and ran into the kitchen as soon as I got there. And as soon as I got there, I was met with an unbelievable sight. Standing in the middle of the kitchen was a faint, wrath-like figure holding a saucepan. I couldn't make out its features, except for its white, blank eyes. It looked at me. At least, I think I did. And after a while, it suddenly faded into the wall. I immediately called my grandpa, who was in the next state, and told him what had happened. "Grandpa, there seems to be something here in this cottage," I said over the phone. "It's really creepy." "What have you seen?" he asked. "A weird-looking shadow figure in the kitchen," I replied. "It was messing around with the pots and pans, and I have a feeling it won't stop there." My grandpa was speechless and told me he had no idea what it was. Afraid that staying here would only make my blood pressure spike even higher, I decided to leave the cottage and check in at a local hotel. As much as I enjoyed the cottage, the fact that something that not even my grandpa can explain is lurking inside is something that I can't possibly handle, both physically and mentally. If you're wondering if that shadow figure is still in the cottage, let's just say that I only go back when there is someone else with me.